Hey, it's Lee for On Your Marks Wrestling, and I'm here with an Impact Wrestling review. Um, Impact's been pretty good the past couple weeks, so I was actually looking forward to tonight's episode. So we start with a video summary of the Feast or Fired setup. So last week, the show ended with the Feast or Fired match, and four people ended up with briefcases. They haven't opened them yet, and they announced that they're going to open them on today's show. We have Alberto El Patron, who comes into the ring and cuts a very babyface promo on Aries. He basically kind of says, like, finally a worthy champion to challenge, all this stuff. Aries calls out Patron's fake nice guy act a little bit. And then he kind of proceeds to compare himself to Patron. But he says the one difference between them is that he's not fake, whereas Patron is. He doesn't believe a thing that he says. They announced that they're going to have a match at Redemption, which is a pay-per-view. I was not aware of the pay-per-views for Impact, except I attended one. I thought this was like a good throwback promo. It felt like the old school promos where it was, I don't like you, I'm better than you, I'm going to beat you. Sometimes it's not even I don't like you. Sometimes it's I respect you, but I'm better than you. And I just like that kind of promo. At the end, there was kind of a interesting thing where Patron says, hey, play Austin Aries' music. And he says, basically he wants to give him the limelight, and he walks out of the ring. And then Aries stops him and says, no, play Patron's music. And he plays, and it plays, and he says, see, this is the last time that you're going to hear your music after we meet, because I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to hear my music after I beat you. It wasn't anything exciting, but it was a fine promo. It was very old school. Sometimes it's nice to have the old school stuff. So there's a little setup video of Dutt and Matthews. They have these throughout the show. I'm not going to review all of them, but this was just kind of setting up the show, and it addresses the Matthews being gifted the Grand Championship by Matt Sydal because he's his one true spiritual leader and all that junk. Whatever. Then you get a match between Trevor Lee and Falaba. I made like a note. Well, first of all, Falaba sees a kid with a sign that says fat kids rule the world, and he kind of enjoys that. Matthews and Dutt on commentary are still talking about Matthews and his championship belt and all this kind of weird stuff. I made a note. I wrote, I miss fat guys. WWE has kind of gone away from the fat guy who's just there because he's fat. And Falaba is a fat guy. He's like 5'5", but he weighs probably 375, 400 pounds. And I just like seeing different shaped people. At one point, he did his, what do they call it? A steamroller move. So he basically, Trevor Lee was being pulled by Caleb Conley outside of the ring, and Falaba grabbed Trevor Lee's arms and kind of dragged Caleb Conley into the ring. And he ran into the ropes, and he did this thing where he basically just rolls sideways over his opponent, and he did it to both of them at the same time. It was all right. It was a fun comedy move, so he steamrolled both of them. Eventually, Falaba goes for the bonsai drop, Yokozuna style, and Trevor Lee manages to distract the referee, and Caleb Conley hits him with a backhand, which is just enough to get Trevor Lee time to kind of stick his arm in there and essentially do like a second rope roll-up. It's hard to describe, but it worked, and Trevor Lee wins. I just like Lee in general, and Conley's a good kind of partner for him in the Cult of Lee group. There's an OVE stalker cam that's following someone that you learn is Eddie Edwards' wife. I did not know. So you see at one point, Sami Callihan, I guess, is the person holding the camera, at least initially. He talks to, someone else is, because you catch Sami Callihan talking to a cleaning lady and saying, hey, I need to get back into my room. And sure enough, it's the same room as Edwards' wife. You see Mackenzie, I forget what her last name is, tells Eddie about it, and he sees the image, and he runs to the hotel to try to save his wife. We go to commercial, and then we get a match. Excuse me, we don't. We get a promo. I'm looking at my notes right now, and man, they're kind of a mess. There's so much writing. So Petey Williams gets an interview with Mackenzie, and he basically cuts the typical passionate babyface promo, which is absolutely fine. He does a good job of it. He's right kind of intensity. Everything is fine. Nothing special, but good. We get a Rohit Raju versus Matt Sydal match, and Josh Matthews is at ringside. Rohit Raju, fun fact about him, I sat right next to him at Bound for Glory. They placed him in the front row to kind of get images of him watching matches going like this. And so I kind of met him, I'm going to say. I was close. I was closer to Laurel Van Ness. I clapped for her in a very idiotic way. If you ever watch Bound for Glory, you'll see that. But yeah, so I got to see him. The crowd doesn't know how to react to Matt Sydal right now. Because he was a face who didn't get a huge reaction, but he was getting a reaction. And then he got kind of a little bit more heelish, but he never went all the way heel. He was still kind of a good guy. And that's when he revealed, he kind of got into the spiritual leader stuff, and he never quite went heel. And then he announces Josh Matthews, who is absolutely heel, as a spiritual guide. So now people are stuck in this like neutral area with him where they're like, well, I don't hate him. I don't really like his friends, but I shouldn't boo him because I don't really hate him. So he's getting no reaction, and that's kind of a bad thing. So anyways, they have this match, and it went longer than I thought it would. Raju got a little bit of offense in. Nothing special stood out. Eventually, Sydal goes for his finisher, which is shooting star press. Raju intercepts him and tries to stop him, but Sydal manages to do a sunset flip into a powerbomb and then hits his shooting star press and wins. I was amazed at how little Josh Matthews played a part in this. Like, I heard him scream a couple things, but I never saw him really interfere much, so that was fine. Moose is interviewed by Mackenzie as well about his having a case, and Moose, that promo work, it was rough. I was not very impressed by it. I've never been very impressed by him. I think he's got a great theme song, and this thing is cool. But man, that promo did not do much. And it was especially bad because they would go to commercial and they come back, and then it's Eli Drake. And Eli Drake is amazing on the mic. He talks about having been fired many times and how it made him stronger. It was almost a bit of a babyface promo from Eli Drake, who's not been a babyface. So I actually like Eli Drake's promo a ton. It flowed great. It made sense. It made me kind of like him. Oh, I don't know. That guy kind of fits WWE perfectly. He would be amazing on NXT, actually. So then we get another match. It's Sienna versus Ali. It's Ali defending her belt for the first time. I wrote a so-so match with a pop-up. No, Ali pops out of a powerbomb and ends up hitting a super kick on Sienna for the win. After the match, Braxton Sutter kind of interrupts. Now, he's been kind of professing love for all sorts of people. He professes his love for Ali again. Says, he loves her. He goes down on one knee. And while Ali's distracted, she gets attacked by, I wrote her name down, Su Yung, the undead bride. She's got a kind of a, what do you call that, kabuki kind of stuff going on, or geisha makeup kind of deal. And she attacks Ali. She hits her with, I guess it's her finisher, which is like an airplane spin into it's not a Mitsunoku driver, but it's like it. I don't know how you would describe it, but we'll say that's what it is. And Sutter loves it. He says, that was perfect. So Sutter is now completely into this Su Yung person. EC3 cuts a promo with Mackenzie, and it's a pure comedy promo where everybody kind of interrupts and keeps saying, like, yeah, you're getting fired. You're getting fired. And he's going like, it's my destiny. And they all go like, now fired. And do symbols for fired. I actually liked it. Then you get Edwards at the hotel. So you see a new camera, not the OBE camera, but a new camera catches Edwards at the hotel. And you see him kind of running towards his wife's room, gets into the room, and he's looking everywhere for Sami Callihan, doesn't find him. And on the way in, he beside the cleaning lady, and you clearly saw it was cleaning lady. He realizes that Callahan's not there. He's relieved. He walks out of the room, bumps into a cleaning lady who is actually Sami Callihan in drag. And Sami Callihan, excuse me, attacks him. They kind of attack each other. And I think the cameraman is one of the brothers, obviously. And I think they kind of get the better of Edwards, but his wife kind of jumps on him to protect him. This whole thing happens and whatever, it's fine. But you have to wonder, like, why did Callahan have to dress up like the maid if he wasn't dressed up like the maid when Edwards went by the first time, and if he was bumping into him right away? Logic says that made no sense. There was no need for it to happen. So Callahan just likes dressing up as maids when he wants to beat up people. That's all I could get out of it. Maybe I'm crazy? I don't know. Flipping the page. Going to the next slide. There's a video package setting up the Monsters Ball match between Abyss and Congo Kong. I thought it was a well done package, kind of summarizing the past few weeks of Jacobs calling him out. Congo Kong versus Abyss is the Monsters Ball match just means basically a mess. So there's everything. There's tacks. There's tables. There's barbed wire. There's whatever you can imagine. It was kind of a forgettable match, but there were certainly some spots that got a little bit more intense. Jacobs distracts Abyss with a kendo stick. Abyss kind of chases him around. Jacobs gets back into the ring. Abyss chases him into the ring, and excuse me, Congo Kong choke slams Abyss into tacks, and you see them in his arm, and you wonder, man, this guy's probably 40-something years old. Why is he still doing this? Abyss gets up. He eventually powers. Like, Congo Kong is going up the ropes, and he looks like he's going to try like a moonsault or something. Abyss grabs him, power slams him through a table for near fall. Then a few things happen. Congo Kong ends up again choke slamming Abyss, but this time onto barbed wire, and Abyss is kind of stuck there. And Congo Kong does a top rope splash onto him, landing his knees in the tacks, and he gets the 3 on Abyss. A surprisingly short Monsters Ball match. Wasn't bad. I've seen worse matches. I've seen far worse matches, so I was okay with it. I saw Grado versus Abyss at Bound for Glory. That was rough. So then we get the Feast or Fire briefcase reveals. So all the guys are in the ring. First one to go is Eli Drake. He opens up his case. It's revealed that he has a tag team title shot. And he says, "What the hell is this worth?" Excuse me. I'm going to take a sip of water. This has been happening all the time. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. So he goes first, says, "I don't even have a partner anymore because Adonis is gone." And he kind of walks to the back, showing disrespect for the thing. Petey Williams goes second. He gets the X Division title. It's the most boring possible scenario, but whatever. EC3 and Moose are asked to go at the same time. They take their time. They really milk the opening of the cases. Then when it comes time to open the case, only Moose opens his. It's revealed that he has a championship. EC3 just kind of freezes. I thought it was actually kind of well done. Then EC3 denies that it's his case. He says it's actually Ishimori's case, and says all sorts of stuff like that. And Borash is just kind of implying him to open the case. It's a formality at this point. And EC3 kind of does a great job here. It's really good comedy, but he also gets serious. And he basically, is it the 7 stages of grief? You know, denial, and then eventually you get to the point where you anger, and then you get to acceptance. So he basically goes through those steps throughout his promo, and I think it was intentionally done, and it was well done. And when it comes time to finally accept it, he shakes Borash's hand, and he's about to leave, but then he attacks Borash with the case, so you know he hasn't quite accepted it. Borash eats a few shots, and then Brian Cage's music comes on, and Brian Cage comes in, EC3 does a Fresh Prince of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air sheepish smile to the screen. Does one of these, and then punches Cage in the face. I enjoyed that, but then Cage absolutely destroys him, discus clothesline, and then he does his finisher, which I believe is called the Drill Claw, which is essentially a vertical suplex into a tombstone. It's badass. Cage looks strong. EC3 is out. We know he's in NXT now. Pretty solid episode of Impact again. Not necessarily as tight an episode as previous ones. I thought there was a little bit of I want to say loose ends, but I thought some of it felt long. But still very good. I'm going to give this episode a 7 out of 10. I actually am totally impressed with Impact. Past 3 episodes I've watched were all completely enjoyable. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll have another review next week.